She had no idea who he was, just another rich customer leaving a big tip. But when she turned around and saw her own baby photo on his fireplace, everything stopped. She was just an ordinary girl with an extraordinary heart. Maya, a hard-working, humble waitress in a small diner on the edge of town, the kind of place where everyone knew each other and the struggles of life were written on the faces of its people. Maya wasn't born into privilege, far from it. She grew up in one of the poorest neighborhoods, where every day was a battle, not just for survival, but for dignity. Maya's mother, Mrs. Thompson, was a quiet woman with kind eyes but a fragile body. Years ago, illness had taken hold of her, and since then, Maya had become her rock, her caretaker. From dawn to dusk, Maya juggled school, work, and nursing her mother back to health, barely finding a moment for herself. Despite the exhaustion, she never complained. It was just life as she knew it. Her mother's words had been like a shield around her heart. "Your father died before you were born." Those were the only words Maya ever heard about the man who'd brought her into this world. No stories, no pictures, no memories, just a name lost in the shadows of the past. For years, Maya never asked questions. Why would she? She had more pressing worries, paying the bills, making sure her mother took her medicine on time, keeping their tiny apartment warm in the winter. Curiosity about her father was a quiet whisper deep inside her, but it was one she tried to silence. Sometimes the past was too painful and better left alone. Still, late at night, when the world was silent and Maya lay awake, her thoughts would wander. Who was he? What kind of man could leave a woman alone to raise a child? Did he ever want to meet her? These questions haunted her, but the answers seemed locked away, just out of reach. At the diner, Maya's days were filled with serving tables, carrying heavy trays, and offering a warm smile to the customers who came and went. She was good at her job, friendly, quick, and attentive, but no one really knew her story. To them, she was just the girl with the tired eyes and the bright smile, always ready to listen but never sharing much herself. One thing Maya never expected was for her life to change because of a stranger, a rich man who walked into the diner one chilly afternoon. Tall, well-dressed, with an air of quiet confidence, he didn't look like the usual crowd. He ordered his meal with a polite nod and left a generous tip on the table, saying nothing more. But it wasn't the tip that caught Maya off guard. It was what happened when she turned around and caught a glimpse of something that froze her in place. A framed baby photo on the fireplace of his luxurious home. A photo of her. Maya's life was a constant balancing act. Between working long hours at the diner and caring for her ailing mother, she barely had time to breathe. But she never lost sight of her dreams. Nursing school, that was her light at the end of the tunnel. She wanted to heal others, just like she wished someone had healed her family's wounds. Every extra shift she took was a step closer to that goal. Every dollar saved was an investment in a future she believed she deserved. It wasn't easy. Most nights, Maya was too exhausted to think beyond the next day. Her hands were raw from carrying heavy trays. Her feet ached from hours on the cold diner floor. But she wore her determination like armor. No matter how hard life got, she refused to give up. One chilly Friday evening, the diner was unusually quiet. The usual crowd had thinned, leaving only a handful of regulars scattered across the tables. Maya had just finished cleaning a table when a man entered through the door. There was something different about him, an air of quiet dignity that made people instinctively step aside. He was an older man, dressed impeccably in a tailored suit, with silver hair and eyes that held 1,000 untold stories. He walked slowly to a reserved table near the window, sat down and glanced around the room with a gentle smile. Maya approached his table with a polite greeting. "Good evening, sir. What can I get you tonight?" The man's voice was calm, warm. "Just a simple meal, please. I'm not hungry for much, but I do enjoy good company." Something about his kindness put Maya at ease. She took his order carefully, making sure everything was perfect. Over the next hour, she found herself stealing glances his way. He didn't say much, but when he did, his words were thoughtful and his eyes kind. At one point, he called her over and asked softly, "You work hard, don't you?" Maya hesitated, unsure how to answer. "Yes, sir, I'm saving up for nursing school." The man smiled, his eyes lighting up with understanding. That's admirable. It takes courage to follow your dreams. When it was time to pay, the man left a $500 tip, a sum far beyond anything Maya had ever seen before. Thank you for your kindness tonight, he said quietly. You deserve every bit of it. Maya's heart raced. She wanted to thank him properly, but felt shy and overwhelmed. As she turned to leave the table, she caught sight of something behind him, a small framed photograph on the mantel of the fireplace near the window. Her breath caught in her throat. It was a baby she recognized instantly. A photo she had never seen outside her own family, a photo she thought was lost forever. The realization hit her like a wave crashing on the shore. That photo was of her. Suddenly, the man wasn't just another customer. He was something much more. Someone from a past she thought was closed forever. Questions flooded Maya's mind, each one louder than the last. Who was he? How did he have her baby picture? Why had no one ever told her about this? For a moment, Maya felt frozen, caught between disbelief and hope. Could this be the father she never knew? The man her mother said had died before she was born? She didn't know what to say. She didn't know what to feel. All she knew was that everything was about to change. The soft glow of the fireplace cast flickering shadows across the room. Maya's eyes were locked on the small framed photo resting on the mantel, the edges worn, the image faded but unmistakable. It was her. The baby in the picture had the same curious eyes, the same delicate features, and the unmistakable birthmark on her left cheek, a detail no one else could confuse. The birthmark her mother had pointed out to her when she was a child, the one she always thought was hers alone. Maya's heart pounded in her chest. Time seemed to slow as the pieces she never thought would fit suddenly began to click into place. She stood frozen, unable to speak or move. The noise of the diner faded into the background. Her mind raced, trying to understand what this could mean. The man behind the photo looked up, meeting her gaze calmly. His eyes were kind but steady, filled with a quiet hope. I was hoping you'd notice, he said softly. His words were simple but carried the weight of years. Years of silence, years of waiting for a moment like this. Maya's breath caught in her throat. She felt a whirlwind of emotions. Shock, confusion, anger, and something deeper, a flicker of something she hadn't allowed herself to feel in a long time. Hope. Who are you? She finally whispered, her voice trembling. The man smiled gently. My name is William. I'm the man your mother told you died before you were born. But that was never true. I left because I thought it was best for you and your mother. Maya's eyes filled with tears. Questions flooded her mind. Why had he left? Why had no one told her the truth? William reached out, but didn't rush. Her. I'm here now, Maya. I want to make things right. For the first time, Maya saw beyond the stranger in front of her. She saw a chance to fill the missing pieces of her story. But whether she would accept it, that was a question only time could answer. Maya's heart was pounding so loudly, she was sure he could hear it. She stared at the photo again, then back up at the man who had dropped that generous tip and held the answer to questions she never dared to ask. Why do you have that photo? She demanded, her voice trembling but firm. Why do you have my baby picture on your fireplace? The man looked at her with a gentle sadness in his eyes. Because, Maya, I'm your grandfather. The words hit her like a thunderclap, shaking every part of her. My grandfather, she echoed, disbelief flooding her voice. But my mother always said... She said my father died before I was born. She never mentioned you. William nodded slowly. She was protecting you. And herself. Maya felt a mix of confusion and frustration rising inside her. Protecting me? From what? He sighed deeply, as if the weight of years pressed on his chest. Your mother, my daughter, ran away before you were born. She left to escape a family burden too heavy to bear. Maya blinked, struggling to absorb the truth. What kind of burden? William's eyes darkened with memories. There was a betrayal, a secret that tore us apart. Your mother didn't want you to know. She wanted to shield you from the pain we lived through. Suddenly, Maya's mind was flooded with images, memories she didn't realize had been buried deep in her heart. A flashback, a young woman running through rain-soaked streets, clutching a tiny bundle wrapped in a blanket. Her face was tear-streaked, but determined. That was her mother, fleeing from a past that threatened to swallow her whole. Another flashback, a furious argument inside a grand house. Voices raised, doors slammed, a family torn apart by lies and silence. William stood in the center, helpless and broken. The flashbacks faded, leaving Maya breathless in the present. "I don't understand," Maya whispered. "Why didn't you try to find us?" William's voice was filled with regret. "I wanted to every day, but your mother made it clear she never wanted to come back. She was afraid of what would happen if she did." Maya swallowed the lump in her throat. "And what about me? What about all these years without you?" He stepped closer, his eyes pleading for understanding. "I was afraid I'd lose you all over again, so I waited, hoping one day you would find me." Maya's emotions swirled, anger, sadness, longing, all fighting for space in her heart. "Why didn't you tell me yourself?" she asked, voice cracking. William looked down, ashamed. "I thought it wasn't my place. I thought your mother's..." Silence meant I should stay away. But now, Maya's voice was softer, almost a whisper. "Now I want to be part of your life, to make up for lost time, to be the family you deserve." Tears welled up in Maya's eyes. For the first time, she saw not a stranger, but a man who carried his own pain and regrets. The past was filled with shadows, but maybe, just maybe, there was light ahead. She took a shaky breath and looked at the photo again, the same one that had stopped her heart moments ago. "That's me," she said softly. "And maybe it's time I stopped running from my past." Just as the weight of years hung heavy in the room, the front door creaked open. Maya and William both turned toward the sound, surprised. Standing in the doorway was a woman, her eyes filled with worry and something deeper, years of regret and love intertwined. It was Maya's mother, Maya's breath caught in her throat. For so long, the past had been a shadow looming over her life, and now, in this moment, it was stepping into the light. Mrs. Thompson's hands trembled as she took a hesitant step inside. Her eyes locked onto her daughters, and then onto William, the man she hadn't seen in decades. "I was nearby," she said softly, voice thick with emotion. I heard you were here." Tears welled up in Maya's eyes as she looked at the woman who had raised her, her protector, her silent strength. "I didn't know what to do," Mrs. Thompson continued. "I was scared of facing the past and the pain it brought." William's eyes filled with tears, and for a moment the strong man who had carried years of silence broke down. "I just wanted to know my granddaughter," he said, voice trembling. Before it was too late. The room was filled with heavy silence, the kind that carries the weight of decades. Maya stepped forward, reaching out to her mother. Their hands trembled as they touched, bridging years of distance in a single moment. "Mom," Maya whispered. "I needed to know the truth. I needed to know where I came from." Mrs. Thompson nodded, tears streaming down her cheeks. "I'm sorry for keeping you in the dark. I thought I was protecting you, but maybe I was only protecting myself." William wiped his tears, his voice raw. "I lost so much time, but I want to be here now, for both of you." The three of them stood together, the walls between them crumbling. Memories were shared, stories told, painful truths laid bare, but with a hope that healing could begin. Maya looked at the framed baby photo once more. It was no longer just a picture. It was a symbol of family, of forgiveness, and a new beginning. In that moment, surrounded by the people who had shaped her life, Maya realized something powerful. Sometimes the hardest truths lead to the strongest bonds. And no matter how broken the past, love can always find a way to heal. In the days that followed the reunion, Maya found herself wrapped in a whirlwind of emotions. The past she had always accepted, the one her mother had carefully protected her from, now unfolded before her like a delicate, fragile story. It was a story filled with pain, secrets, and sacrifices, but also with the undeniable thread of family. At first, Maya felt overwhelmed. The idea that the man who had seemed like a stranger just days ago was actually her grandfather was almost too much to grasp. Her world, once so familiar, had been suddenly expanded in ways she hadn't expected. William was patient, never rushing her. Every meeting was a step, every conversation a thread weaving them closer. He respected her boundaries, understanding that trust, once broken, could only be rebuilt slowly. One afternoon, as the soft spring sunlight poured through the windows of William's stately home, he invited Maya to sit with him in the cozy study. The room smelled faintly of old books and fresh flowers, a sharp contrast to the small diner where Maya worked so hard every day. "Maya," he began gently, "I want to help you with something important. Your education, your dream to become a nurse." Maya looked down, hesitant. "I can't accept that. You don't owe me anything." William shook his head, smiling warmly. "It's not charity. It's family. I want to give you the support you deserve, because you're my granddaughter." For a moment, Maya's defenses faltered. No one had ever offered her anything without conditions, without strings attached. This felt different, real. "I've been watching you work so hard," William continued. "You have a spirit that can't be broken, and I want to help you shine." Tears welled up in Maya's eyes. The thought of finally having the chance to follow her dream without the crushing weight of financial worry was almost overwhelming. "Thank you," she whispered, her voice thick with emotion. From that day forward, their relationship began to grow, cautiously, but with hope. William took the time to learn about Maya's world, the struggles she faced, and the dreams she held close to her heart. He introduced her to old family albums, stories about her mother's childhood, and pieces of history that connected her to a past she was just beginning to understand. Maya, in turn, shared her own life, the challenges of balancing work, school, and caring for her mother. She let down walls she'd built over years, allowing herself to be vulnerable in a way she hadn't before. Her mother watched the new relationship with quiet relief and pride. The walls that had kept them apart were crumbling, and healing had begun. There were still moments of uncertainty, old wounds that would take time to heal, but the foundation was there, a family reunited, ready to face the future together. Maya often thought back to that moment in the diner when she saw her baby photo on the fireplace. It had been a turning point, a doorway to a new life she never imagined. Now, with her grandfather by her side and her mother's love as steady as ever, Maya felt ready to take on the world. She was no longer just a waitress with a dream. She was part of a family, a legacy of strength and love. And as she prepared to step into nursing school, she carried with her the knowledge that sometimes the hardest journeys lead to the most beautiful destinations. Months had passed since that unforgettable night at the diner, the night everything changed for Maya. Now, she was no longer just working long shifts hoping to save enough money for nursing school. She was a nursing student, walking the halls of her college with a mix of nervous excitement and determination. Every week, without fail, Maya visited William's house. Their relationship had blossomed into something beautiful, a bond forged through honesty, forgiveness, and newfound love. As she stepped into the cozy living room, her eyes immediately found the fireplace mantel. The framed baby photo that had started it all still stood there, a quiet reminder of the past. But now beside it rested a new picture, a radiant Maya, smiling proudly in her nursing cap and gown. William looked up from his chair, his face lighting up as she entered. "There she is," he said warmly. "My granddaughter, the nurse in the making." Maya smiled, feeling a sense of peace she hadn't known in years. "Thanks to you," she said softly, "for believing in me." William shook his head gently. "You did all the hard work, I just gave you a chance." Their visits were filled with stories, laughter, and plans for the future. Maya's mother had also joined them more and more, their family slowly knitting together the pieces of their shared history. For Maya, this was more than just a reunion. It was a second chance at life. A chance to build the future she'd always dreamed of, surrounded by people who loved and believed in her. If this story touched your heart, please share it with someone who might need hope today. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and click the notification bell for more inspiring stories just like Maya's. Remember, no matter how difficult the past may seem, there's always a path to healing and happiness.